Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Girls Lounge. I think me and Liz are both very, very excited for today's episode, but it's going to be our first book club episode ever. We read everything I know about love, so we're going to do a full deep dive into it later. Our episode, if you haven't noticed, they all have timestamps. So if you just want to skip ahead to that part, feel free to. But yeah, that's what today's episode is going to be about.
But before we get into all that, we have to do our usual segments. So we'll run through it a bit quickly so we can get to the part that we're both so excited about. But my little my little life update for you guys. It's finally fall weather, you guys. I'm so happy. It's that perfect weather right now where it's like warm, but it's also kind of chilly, especially in the shade. And this is everything that I have been waiting for. I can finally wear a sweater and I'm not like immediately I need to change. It's hot, I'm sweaty. It is just perfect. Like I woke up in my room today and it was nice and like cold and I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's finally my time to shine." But this week I haven't had much happening. I just been having this thought in my head, you guys, and I need help. Do I cut my hair or not? Because I feel I'm at that point in like my hair where I don't know what to do with it and it just always annoys me. So I just like throw it up or I have it in a bun or have it up in some sort of way because it's just so annoying when it's down. So I think I need to go back into my fall bob era, but I kind of want to switch it up a little bit. I'm kind of leaning towards maybe getting some layers in here a little bit. Maybe not as like short as I'll do in the past, but just like some layers. I have I have a love-hate relationship with layers because when I was younger, I had them and I just hated when they grew out because it looked so like funky and off to me. But it's been on my mind recently, so I don't know, you guys. Help me out. Do I get my hair cut? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe get a haircut. Maybe add some a different color to your hair, maybe if that's your vibe. Because I feel like fall is a time where people put a lot of color in their hair. Um, you guys are gonna be the first to hear this, but I'm getting my braids this month, and I'm gonna do a different color for the fall that I haven't done. So I feel like fall is the time for different colors, different hairstyles. So maybe if you don't cut it, layers, and then some type of color that's very fall vibes.
In my like saved TikToks and on my saved pins on Pinterest, I have been looking at some color alteration. I haven't like done any color to my hair in years, so maybe it is the time. You guys, if you're watching on YouTube, there's gonna be one episode where you come in and you won't even recognize me and KT because they're just gonna be looking completely different. I think that this is my sign to do something, so we'll see.
And then for me, I just want to say if you're on your period right now, I feel for you. I swear mine ruined my life for the past 2 weeks. It's so weird because usually my period doesn't really take that much out of me. But for some reason this time, I don't know if there was something going on in the air. It is really, when I tell you, it drained my energy. I was in so much pain, even with ibuprofen and my heating pad. I was like, you guys, I can't do this, but I am feeling better now. So hopefully I actually leave the premise of my house. I've been outside, just haven't left the premise of my street in a while. But hopefully since I feel better, we can do that. And just know if you're on your period, I feel you. I stand with you.
Add no because I understand KT. I this week I have like a little DIY heating pad that I have a sock and it's like filled with rice. I just put that in the microwave. Immediately when it would like not be hot, I would have to go downstairs and like heat it back up. It was on constant repeat. It'd be like a little, it not even like not hot. It just get a little warm. Put it back in the microwave. I was going through it too.
No, and I'm like, if this is what period pain is like, what is giving birth like? I'm scared. But that's something I won't have to worry about in decades. So moving on. Next, I have just been living in nostalgia land. I feel like between our sports era episode that we just did, go listen to, and then just watching Sugar Things. I feel like it's just drawn up a bunch of emotions. I'm like, ugh, I feel it's not that I necessarily am nostalgic in the way I want to go back to that time, but I miss the feelings of some of the things we were just so excited about, and just even when I was thinking about F1 too, I was like, ugh, I kind of missed the feeling when I first got into F1, and it literally consumed my life. I just miss those feelings, but yeah, that's pretty much it. There's something else I was gonna talk about, but then I was like, I don't need to talk about it. I'm trying to get to the book.
Ahead and get into our favorites of the week. So my favorite of the week is I've been really this past week, I've been enjoying this spot in my room where I have like near my window, it kind of have like my book nook of sorts, and I had like stuff in one of my chairs, so I like don't really sit there that often. This past week I like set it up. That's where I did my little reading for everything I know about love, and just like enjoying the natural sunlight coming in. I did some coloring there and watching Stranger Things, of course. So just really like enjoying a part of my room that I typically otherwise wouldn't enjoy that much.
My favorite of the week is my Stanley Cup. You guys, I don't know what it is. Like, I was like fully like, oh, I love my Awala. But something about the bigger Stanley and the fact that it's just like a simple straw, I feel like I drink more water. But like, I'm just such an Awala girl because I love how it's just so much easier to carry around with you. But I don't know, something about my Stanley just hits different.
Personally, I'm missing my Awala. I can't stand my Stanley at times, but
I was just gonna say, I feel like it is though because my Awala is a smaller size than my Stanley. So I feel like if I got a bigger size of an Awala, I would be like, oh wait, I'm loving life. I can drink more water.
the struggle of having the perfect water bottle. And now we're gonna go ahead and get into our sports corner.
This week we are just gonna talk about who our drivers are, for the race next week, in Austin, a U.S. race that me and Liz are not at, but it's fine. We will get there eventually. I'm putting it out there. They're gonna invite the Girls Lounge podcast one day, putting it out there. And so Elizabeth's drivers are Lando Norris and Isaac Hajar, which I actually listened to a interview of his, and I think like it's technically like Isaac, because like think of it like in a French accent, but of course us Americans or just not even Americans, English speakers, we're just like Isaac.
I never would have considered it being pronounced differently, but that makes sense. And then Kennedy's drivers are Ollie, which Oliver, but you know, Ollie Bierman, and then oh my gosh, her other driver is George Russell.
Very happy with those two. And now we're gonna get into pop culture. We're just gonna talk about AI Jake Paul and just more thoughts about Taylor Swift's album now that I've listened to it. But first, on the AI Jake Paul, you guys, I don't know what and why this is happening, but my For You page has been filled with videos of Jake Paul, like AI Jake Paul, just like doing his makeup, like just random videos. And it's so funny. And it's like, why Jake Paul out of all people? But honestly, maybe that's his karma for the way he's acted on the internet.
I have not been on that side of TikTok at all. I've seen none of that, but watch after we finish recording. That's all my For You page is going to be. I think that's really funny though, how it's like, I don't think he's done anything relevant recently, but for him to just like pop back up there, you know, honestly, maybe this is his doing. He had something to do with it. Knowing those brothers, I wouldn't put it past him.
No, that part, and it's funny because obviously, like Gen Z, we're always kind of like getting on our parents and stuff for like believing some of that like fake stuff they see on the internet or just loving those weird AI videos. But like the first video I got of it ever, I low key thought it was him for like the first couple seconds, and everyone in the comments was like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna get tricked when we're older," and it's just so funny because it's crazy how real that looks. I definitely think AI still has a long way to like getting humans right, but like at first I was like, why is Jake Paul doing his makeup? I'm so confused.
No, because the amount of times that it's an AI thing and I fall for it, so many times I have to like look up like, is this real? Especially with like news stories and things like that. I'm always like, I always fall for it. So I understand like the older people who for sure like they be reposting this stuff on the Facebook. You know, that's gonna be us before we know it.
That part. And then next we're gonna talk about Taylor Swift's recent album. I feel like people are still having their think pieces about it. I think we came in last week. Elizabeth, I don't, you weren't the biggest fan of it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I didn't like it, but I wasn't vibing with it. It wasn't like I'm gonna be listening to this every single day.
For me, I thought it was a decent pop album. There are a couple songs that I was like, okay, I really like. I can see myself listening to this like in the future. But obviously, it wasn't my favorite pop album ever. But I don't know. To me, personally, as someone who like knew Taylor Swift when I was younger and then got back to her in her folklore era, I don't know. I feel like it wasn't anything like I feel like a lot of people were respecting like folklore vibes from it still, even though she really hasn't had those vibes in the albums after that. Um, But I don't know, like people had a lot to say about the lyrics of it, but it's like it's a pop album. Not saying that pop music can't have like deeper meaning, but like it is like a pop album. I thought it was very much dancey, good vibes. I don't know. I just felt like it was a typical pop album, so I don't know why um people like are holding it to like a higher standard. But yeah, I don't know. Those are just my main thoughts about it, honestly.
I haven't re-listened to it, but I have been listening to like the songs or like the sounds on TikTok of it. I think one's like for Affiliate or whatever that one, the O song, and the sounds of like on trendy on social media. Those songs have grown on me because they weren't like my favorite my first time listening to it, but just hearing like the chorus and like the beat, like they are right now. I have one constantly stuck in my head, so I feel like it is growing on me more. Specifically, like some of the more pop songs that at first I was like not vibing too much with it, but now I'm kind of like, it got me like it got me bopping my head, it got me humming. So I think it's just like with it being Taylor Swift, people hold her to a different standard, which I feel we shouldn't because like it is just an artist. But some people aren't ready for that conversation yet.
That part, and I feel like for me, it didn't necessarily sound too different from like other pop album she's put out. And then another complaint I saw a lot before I listened to the album where people were like, I don't even know what she's talking about. Like I had to look up what she was even saying. But to me personally, I feel like the songs are pretty clear. I don't know. I don't know. I don't want that to sound like pretentious or anything, but it's just like I don't know. I feel like it was very self-explanatory. But if you were curious, I think my favorite song is So Romantic because I feel like every girl can probably relate to that, or anybody where it's just like someone hates you so much that it's like it's almost romantic because you're putting in more effort than like a man would, you know?
Mm. Yes, preach. And then we're gonna go ahead and get into our what we're watching. I think Kenny and me basically have been watching the same exact stuff. But the only thing that I watched that Kennedy hasn't watched, so I finally finished with my mom the K drama that we were watching, the Bon Appetit, Your Majesty. And you guys, it had the cutest ending ever. Honestly, it was kind of bloody and gruesome compared to other K dramas I've watched. But all I know is it solidified for me. I was sending in our like group chat, I was sending pictures of the main like Korean guy, and I was like, why must I settle for like an American man when there's people like this that exist out there? And that, yeah, the K dramas they're casting, they know how to do it when it comes to the main male character because I was swooning, especially at the end. I was like, oh my gosh. So I'm re-entering my K drama era, and I'm so excited for that.
Yes, and then for the things that we both watched, we're both finally on season 4 of Stranger Things, the most recent season that has come out so far. You guys, so for me, season 4 is just it was like so good to me, and like I literally cried during both parts. I was like, I can't rewatch this. Like ever since it came out, I was like, I can't rewatch this. I'm not ready to cry. But so I finally am rewatching it for like the first time since it's come out, and I forgot how good it is. Just like phenomenal. It's the perfect fall vibes and just like everything. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm still very much confused at some parts on like what's going on. Like, I'm so confused while the Russians are still here. I think I said that about season 3. Still confused, but it's just like I forgot how good it is. It is like the one thing is like annoying is like they're all like so far apart having their own lives. It is very much part of like kind of like the storyline, like they're all together but then they're gonna come together at the end. But I'm just like, I just want everyone to be together already. And of course I love seeing Enzo again. I was waiting for him. It was funny because I was texting Liz. I was like, honestly, I never got like the Eddie hype, like the cafeteria scene, like if that happened to me in real life. I was like, what is this guy doing? But Enzo, yeah, yep, that's my man.
No, you guys, I honestly, I don't remember a single thing that happened this season. Like, I'll watch and I'll get like flashbacks. I'm like, oh my God, yeah. Like, I completely forgot that this season dropped like a part one and part two because I feel the past Stranger Things seasons had dropped all together, all the episodes. But season four is when they started doing their like part one, part two. Um, and that kind of stuff. So this whole time I'm like watching, I'm like expecting the end of the like episodes 9 or whatever for it to be like the running up the hill scene and all that stuff. And I get to episode 4 and I'm like, I feel like the scene, it's setting it up for what I remember happened, like the running up the hill. And yeah, that's and then I texted Kennedy and she was like, "Yeah, there was like a part 1 and part 2." And I in my head I was like, I this whole time I was like, "Okay, I got like 5 more episodes to mentally prepare." And then it just immediately happened and I was very much going through it as much as I did the first time watching it. Season 4 is one of those seasons where I forgot all about it, but I love it. Dare I say I think it might be my top 2 cuz obviously season 3 is the best season. I think season 4 is number 2 for me. The vibes are just so perfect, especially for right now in the fall. It's just the setting all about it. I absolutely love, and I love the of course I'm going to be cuz you know like they're always split up. I am always going to be my favorite like team of them is whatever team Steve. Oh my gosh. Dustin and yeah, Steve. I was going to change his name. Dustin and Steve, whatever team they're on, that's my favorite. Their chemistry, their banter, I absolutely love. Yeah, I'm so excited for season 5.
No, I would agree. I think season 4, like, that's top tier. That is like one of my favorites ever of the show. And also just to even put more into perspective, like how much like we didn't remember. I texted Liz. I said, "Oh wait, I forgot Papa was still alive," but they showed it. I thought at first I was like, "Wait, is this the newspaper guy?" Like like the first full beginning, I was like, I'm like, what is this? What show is this again? But yeah, it's just so good.
No, like last thing, the other scene that I completely forgot about. So like I remembered so when Enzo's name got brought up, I was like, "Yep, Enzo, that's my man." But before that, so I was like, "Okay, so they're going to get Hopper, back from the Russians." I completely forgot like how Enzo and then Joyce and all them kind of get like meet up because as I'm watching, I'm like, in this plan, Enzo's not even gonna make it to the US. Like, how's he gonna meet all them? So I was completely thrown for a loop when like that one man betrays them and then they get like kind of like reunited in Russia. I completely forgot that was even a thing. I truly feel like I'm watching this for the first time. So it's just even better.
That part. And my last little note is Steve. Oh my god, he hits like he hits every season, but something about season 4, Steve. Like that's literally my man. That like you can't tell me anything different. Like just so good.
This is my actual last thought, you guys, I promise. But no, something about Steve in season 4, just because, like, he still likes Nancy. Nancy still likes him. So why are they not together? Like, oh my gosh, you guys. It's like the part where I'm at, we're getting those scenes where they're kind of like not flirting, but like they kind of are. And like everybody knows, like Robin knows, like Dustin knows, like everybody knows but them. So they better get together season 5.
And I noticed like he still calls her Nance. I'll let yeah. Yep, that's my end game right there.
And then the other show that we're both watching is Love is Blind. We watched season 9, episodes 1 through 9. So if you guys haven't watched, skip ahead. I don't know how you haven't watched because this season is actually crazy and we kind of have some thoughts about it.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start except that I think the only couple I'm rooting for is Jordan. Let's see, I was like almost forgot his name again. Jordan and Sparkle Megan, which girl, we need to drop that Sparkle. I'm like, do her. I saw a TikTok that was like, calling all of Sparkle Megan's friends. Do y'all actually call her that? But they're probably the only couple I'm rooting for. Everyone else, I'm like, oh yeah, this is not gonna last. I think they're just the perfect example of opposite track. Like they're really what each other needs, but I'm scared the financial stuff and like him being so frugal, I guess, and her being so like I want the nice things, which neither of those things are wrong, but I just like hope that doesn't clash too much.
Yes, I agree with Kennedy. They are the only couple that I'm like, please make it through. Like, please. Like, all the other ones, I'm like, honestly, y'all need to break up. Like, y'all deserve better. Like, don't stay with this person. But them two, I really hope that they talk. As long as they communicate and talk, I feel like they're going to be together. I really hope that they last. I really, really hope that they do. I feel like they're exactly like what the other one needs. Like Kennedy said, like she needs someone. She needs to switch it up. She needs, she doesn't need what the same old, and he needs like someone like more like stable kind of. So I feel like they make so much sense all the other people, I don't even, I feel like it's all the guys. And even in these like last episodes, like episode 9 and everything, some of the girls, I was like, okay, you're doing too much. Like, Annie, for example, she's gonna self-sabotage, obviously. I feel like her and Nick can make it. I feel like they can last, but if they don't, it's gonna be because she self-sabotaged. But like, he like, oh, I know a lot of people like don't like him and stuff, and like he's not my favorite or anything, but I feel like he does what he needs to do, you know, like he would be a good like husband, but I feel like she's gonna self-sabotage. And then all the other ones, Joe, he needs some help. I feel like he's not ready for marriage, just the way he be talking and everything. Also, I feel like we haven't discussed enough about how he used to be engaged. Like, why did the engagement end? You know, like that kind of stuff. I feel like who I forgot the girl he's engaged to. Her name, the one that's like kind of has like the eye stuff. She deserves better. She deserves better. And then KB and Edmund. Edmund obviously has some trauma he needs to get through. KB deserves better. Yeah, all these other couples they got some issues.
I agree. So first on Edmund and KB, I definitely do think I don't think they're gonna last just because he again like has some things to work through, which is like not a good excuse for how he's acting. I just think he just yeah. And then Joe and Madison, I think like you guys know like that saying where it's kind of like or not that saying. There's like a statistic that like women who get with a partner who like turns up like having like some type of like sudden illness like the woman's gonna stay with the man but the man always will leave the woman if the roles are reversed. So I feel like that's kind of the vibe with Joe and Madison. Like let's say she goes blind in the future, y'all think Joe is staying? No, he did. I just think he wants to be married. And I saw a TikTok that was like kind of like Joe defenders, but I was like, they're like, Madison gets so defensive. I'm like, yeah, you would too. Like, do you guys see the way he brings up stuff? He would have me second guessing stuff because, like, I don't know why he wants her to, like, I don't know. He just, like, almost in a way is like instigating a fight and then he's like I don't know why you're so mad, like it's very weird. And like honestly how he acted on like the honeymoon was very icky to me. Like I would be freaked out too if I just woke you up and you're just like incoherent and you can't understand anything. Like mind you, like these people really don't know each other like that at the end of the day. And for this to really be like the first time they're alone and this is what you're experiencing, I would be freaked out too. I would be like, who is this man that I just said yes and I will marry? Like, and I'm gonna have to live with him after this. Like, I would be freaked out too. And then, oh yeah, Annie and Nick. I agree with what Liz said. Like, I think he would be a good husband, all that stuff. But I think Annie is going to self sabotage, and I just don't understand. Like, I don't know. She's definitely like insecure maybe, and I feel like the living situation is really going to be a big thing because I feel like she's not willing to compromise on that, which I feel like it would be easy compromise in my mind. Since he works from home and she does have a business, but like she's a business owner, I feel like he might have a little bit more flexibility on your schedule. Like I was telling Liz, like what about like Monday through Thursday you guys stay in the city and then Friday to Sunday, y'all go up to the mountains. Like, I don't think it's fair. It would be fair to ask Nick to give all that up because, like, that house is like really nice. And if I was in that situation, I would want to stay up that house a lot of the time.
And I saw this one TikTok where they kind of brought up a good point. I feel like Annie, especially in episode 9, they kind of like, I don't know, she was kind of giving like alcoholic vibes, the way she was like sipping, and it kind of looked like she was like out of it, you know? And I feel like I know that like they do the cups that way, so like you don't know what they're drinking. But these people, I swear they always got a cup in their hand. Everywhere they go, cup in hand, cup in hand, cup in hand. Like, I don't know. And then Joe, I feel like he's definitely be drinking a bit too much in these scenarios. Oh, and then that brings me, I always forget that they're even like a couple. Allie and Anton. Yeah, I really hope that they don't make it just because the stuff that we found out about him kind of like being like not a player, but like going like the strip clubs and everything and not being like very forthcoming about all of this about his like past and everything. And then the whole like when he gets back from work like he's drinking and things. Yeah, I don't know about their lifestyles. I feel like they're that couple where it seems like everything's like perfect. Like they immediately like that was their connection. Like at least the clips we saw, we didn't see them really explore with other people connections, you know? Like it was like they were locked in day one, and then just like they haven't had like any issues or anything really come up. Those are the couples where you have to like really look at, because there's everybody has something. So if it's not as like out there, I feel like it's even worse.
Yeah, I agree. I think with Ali and Anton, even though they look good together, and like in the beginning, I was like low key, like I can see this couple being like going to the end, but I definitely think the different lifestyles is really what's going to really clash, especially because she was like she doesn't even like Denver, like she was just there because of like work, and like she wants to move to Florida, which it seems like he is like he wants to move to, like he would move with her. But I don't know, I just feel like it's just different lifestyles.
Yeah, and then the fact we haven't seen no family, that's kind of like a little sus to me. But yeah, just trust you guys. We will be sat next Wednesday watching the 2 episodes that drop before the wedding episodes, because there's just so much that is to be unpacked with these people. And then the other show that we've been watching is Dancing with the Stars. All I have to say about the last episode is justice for Alex. Their dance, her and Val deserved a 9. They deserved at least 1 9. It was so good. The makeup, the design, the costume, it was perfect. Yeah, justice for Alex.
Yeah, I loved her dance. And y'all know me. I love my good spooky stuff. The dance literally gave me chills. It was so good. And I love the part where Val like swung her around and like her feet were on the ground. I was like, oh my gosh. And then the part where she was like kind of controlling him with his hand and he was like moving on the ground. I was like, yeah, this A. Like I would have gave that honestly a 10. But the judges were being stingy.
And this upcoming Tuesday, when they do dedication night, oh my gosh, I am so excited for like all of them, but specifically Dylan, is that his name? Efron? Zac Efron's brother. His dedication, and he's using Rewrite the Stars, which like Greatest Showman, I love that movie. That song, that is my thing. So it's like kind of like a 2-in-1 dedication, because it's not even to Zach, it's to his sister. I am so excited. I think it's gonna be so good. I think a lot of them have like really good people that they're dedicating their songs to. So I think it'll be really cool how they interpret the dedication into the dance. And it's gonna be interesting who goes home, honestly.
Yeah, and also another dance I love was of course Whitney and Mark. I think that's his name. I always forget it. Yeah, Mark. I love their dance. I think theirs was the first 9, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they did get the first 9. I've been seeing a lot of like controversy with them. I don't know if you have, where like everybody's saying like Mark only comes back when he knows that he's gonna get like a winner, and the judges kind of like favor Mark. And then I personally like the dance. I didn't realize people were hating on it. They were saying like this was not good, like blah blah blah. Everybody like on my side of TikTok does not like the dance. I'll like stumble upon comments and it's like a few people are like, am I the only like Whitney person here? I really like her dancing. I really do. So it'll be interesting, like how far she makes it with all these haters I didn't know she had.
I know it's so annoying. Like this is what I hate about TikTok is like these mass like we're gonna do this. Like I've seen people try to be like, oh, let's all like because Hilaria and Gleb are gone now, so they're like, next, let's get Mark and Whitney out. I'm like, what are you guys on? They are like part of the reason why the show is like so popular right now. So I need to make sure I vote all my 10 votes that I can do for them this next week because y'all are not gonna let him go. We need to get Andy out. And I know people are being so like annoying about like the whole dance background thing. Because allegedly she might have like a degree in dance and blah blah blah. But like you guys can't like she's how old, like she hasn't been in school for how long, and like who knows, like she probably doesn't even have a background in ballroom, you know what I mean? Like just because you have a background in dance, like what does that even mean? Like you know what I mean? Like Charlie D'amelio, like she had a background in dance but like she didn't do ballroom dancing. um Elaine, she even says she used to be a cheerleader. So because she used to be a cheerleader back in the day, but now she's in her 50s, like, does that mean she has some type of experience? You know what I mean? It's just like they talk about all this experience. Same with Alex Earl. I just think people don't like them because they're jealous. I don't know. So I need to make sure I'm voting for them, and you guys make sure you're voting for Jordan too because they try to take out all the people of color on this show. So we're not letting that happen for her.
Yes, especially when she has literally been at the top of the leaderboard every single episode. She's been up there. Top 3, she is up there. And I do agree. I think there's a difference between like knowing how to dance or like having some knowledge in dancing and then ballroom, because like ballroom is all about the like the technique, like the arms, the positions, the feet. Like that's completely different from like dancing jazz or like doing tap or something. And then like the TikTok dances, I feel like you can't even compare that because TikTok dances, it's like a 10-second dance where you memorize the moves to that specific TikTok sound. Like it's not like you use these moves in all of the dance. No, it's like complete, and it's not even a dance. You're really just like moving your arms most of the time, maybe sometimes your legs. Like, yeah, I feel like people are reaching now.
I agree, but we are not letting them take away our people. So vote, you guys. And yeah, so now we're gonna get into song of the week. We both really put out the fall vibes. So my song of the week is like a staple in my fall playlist, and that is California Dreamin' by the Mamas and the Papas, which is also perfect because they play that in the beginning of Stranger Things as well. So I'm gonna just play a little part for me. I wish I could play the whole song, but I can't. Like, come on now, that's literally fall in a song.
And then my song of the week is, of course, the Stranger Things theme, you guys. It is Running Up the Hill by Kate Bush. When season 4 dropped, you guys, I'm pretty sure this song made it like into my like most replayed songs. So yeah, it's iconic. Here's my favorite part. If only you guys could listen to the whole thing, but of course we can't do that.
And now, on to the best part of this episode, our book, Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. You guys, me and Liz have lots of thoughts about this. Basically, this book is a memoir, if you didn't know, for those of you who just want to listen to this, even if you didn't read the book, by Dolly Alderton. She's like a journalist type person in the British world, I guess. And then she made this book um, to tell her experience with like love and the different ways it can be.
Yes, I like this has been a book that's always been like on my list of TBR to be read just because it's like it's about love, it's like in your 20s, you know, like perfect for our age group and everything. And honestly, if you're not in your 20s, I would still recommend this book because I feel like it's more about just her experiences and then just how that like kind of goes about and how it's shaped her thoughts, which is what we're gonna get into and everything. We can do like our overall thoughts first, and then we can like go. We like tabbed it and everything. I never be tabbing my books, you guys, but we did some tabs. We like marked some of our favorite parts. We're just really gonna go and just like talk about the book. No really shape or like reason.
Yes. So my overall um thoughts on it, I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. It was just even there are some parts of the book that were like I don't know what's going on, but to me it still felt like a 5 stars because it was like the perfect book for me to read at this point. And I think my review on Fable and Goodreads was like, um, I got a lot out of it. I think it's perfect if you're in your 20s and even like your early 30s or even your 30s in general. If you're like single and even if you're in a relationship, I feel like this would be a good book to read as well. And I just love the combination of just like funny random stuff, but then also like really like deep stories where it's like, oh, like I can see where this can translate into like my life. And it really made me think a lot. Like this book made me cry a decent amount of time. So like if you can get that many emotions out of me while reading words on paper, then yeah, you did something. And this is definitely a book I would keep forever and definitely look back at some of these annotations if I'm ever feeling low or like I need a laugh or something like that.
Yeah, I gave this book a 4 stars personally. That doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it or anything. I really did enjoy it. I took a lot out of it, especially just like her overall like outlook on love and like how that's shaped her. Especially just like seeing how like the crazy like unexpected dates that she would have or like crazy date stories. Like when I was reading this, yes, there was some points where I was like, I don't really relate to that. Like that's crazy. It was very interesting to read, don't get me wrong, but I was like personally like in the moment I was like I'm not like out here like personally hooking up with like all these people or like out until like the next day or like 'cause she would have some crazy stories where she would literally like go from one part of like she'd start out in London and end up in I don't know where in the UK, all just to like meet a guy or like drink some more and like continue the party. And like I don't personally have that experience, but even in those stories I felt like there was like a moment where like you would relate to it, like whether it be like what she learned from that experience, or like her feelings or how she felt in the moment. There was a lot of moments where I was like, I don't relate entirely, but like the feeling and the outcome, I was like, I understand that, you know? So like I feel like that was a really unique way of how she wrote it, and to find that relating even like when things are different, you know? And I really did like it. I specifically love, like, I started having a lot towards the end, because that's when like you really started seeing more of like just how her life has like gone, like from like high school to like adulthood, and her friendships and everything. I loved the book. I thought it was really good. And now we're just gonna go ahead and get into some of our like favorite moments, all of our thoughts, and what we have to think. What we have to say.
Yes, I don't know, like, why am I feeling like nervous this right now? I'm like, wow, this is gonna be like therapy, like times 10. We're really gonna be getting into it. But one of the first things that really like stuck out to me was in Everything I Know About Love, the being Jorn, BJORN again, chapter. And it said, and it was after like Farley announced, that she was getting engaged, I think. And it was just a little quote. And it was like, um, she announced it at a dinner with mates. We all toasted it and streaked with joy. I wrote a sad soliloquy about it on my iPhone notes on the night bus home. And that really stuck out to me because I can relate to that a lot, where it's like when you are the only one of your friends who's like not experiencing these like moments of like having like being in a relationship and having those relationship milestones, it's like I'm so happy for you, but at the same time I'm gonna feel sad for myself because I'm not experiencing that. And so for the longest I was like, that's so selfish of me, like why can't I just let my friend have this thing without like making it about myself in private. But then I realized like no, like that's totally normal. Like two things could be true at once, as long as you're not like being to your friend, like showing that emotion to your friend. But like just that feeling of like I'm really happy for you, but at the same time I am very much sad about it, and like not in the way of like oh like I'm jealous, or like that other thing Elizabeth said. She said something to me in the car one day. We were talking about something where she was like, some people are jealous of you not necessarily because they want what you have, but like they don't believe you deserve it or something like that. So it's like not in that way either, because I always felt like when I have those feelings, like, am I feeling that way? Because it's not like I feel that, you know what I mean? And it's not like I want those things for myself, but it's just like, yeah, I don't know if that made sense.
I'm like trying so hard to remember what it was that I said, but yeah, exactly that. That part, that chapter, I literally put like a sticky note if you guys like watching on YouTube, and I just like put all the pages of that chapter. It was That chapter was like one that really really stood out to me, and just how it's like it is come I feel like it's sometimes like you think like I shouldn't feel this way, like I shouldn't feel this way, and it's not that you're like, you know, like you don't want, it's not that you don't want that for your friend, but it's like, why isn't this happening to me type, you know? So it's like the bittersweetness of it. And I think it was really good how like there was many moments where she had those feelings, and how you're like when you're reading, you're like, oh, like that's like normal. Like other people, like it's okay to experience that. Cause I feel like that's something you don't really talk about, because like you don't want to seem like a bad person. But it's very real to have those feelings. And then I have like two little tabs that I had before we got into that part, because that's when I really started tabbing. But in the beginning, on page 17, on her chapter Boys, she talks about the where is it? Oh, so she started talking about how like the disparity between, it's when she's like starting to like get into not online dating, but like chatting with guys online, when like that kind of became a thing, and how she started to see like the difference between meeting someone in person and then meeting them online, and like you draw up an image of them, like you draw up what you think they're gonna be, and then you meet them and you're like let down. So she was talking about how like she saw the difference between that, and how it's like better for it to just happen in like real life meeting kind of, so you don't have like those expectations and everything, because when you go into it, even like without realizing, you're gonna draw up these expectations of what this person's gonna be. So it's always gonna be like you don't want to like have that connection in real life, if that makes sense. I thought that was just like interesting, especially in this day and age, when like, I mean, when she wrote this and she experienced this, like social media wasn't a thing or anything. Like it was just now becoming a thing, like the internet and everything. But for us, like that's always been something that we've experienced, and it was just like really, really crazy to see. I feel like on words for me. And then another little thing that stood out to me. Okay, so on her being a bit fat, being a bit thin chapter, page 73. So she's like talking about like the expectations for women. And then there's this quote where she said, that doesn't cut it. We're told, like us women, we're told that we have to look like women who are paid to look like that as a profession. And I was like, that I don't know, just like seeing that the word like they're paid to look that way was like, wow, that was just took me out, you guys, because it was like obviously like like you always grow up and you're like, oh, like don't compare yourself to like a model, like blah blah blah. But I feel like we forget they're paid to look like that way. Like they have to look that way in order to make a living. So that was just like very like wow, just like seeing it written. I feel like did it for me.
Yeah, and then also just like even when we bring it down to like even influencers, like they are saying all these skincare products, giving all these like nice things so they can look good and try to sell that to us. So like that's also another thing where it's like don't compare yourself to influencers. They're getting all this free product to make themselves look better, and like their appearance is like part of their job. So it's kind of like again what they're being paid for or giving or getting sent free products for. So it's like, okay, if we see this influencer using this thing that makes them look amazing, like if we can't afford that and stuff, like so what? Like we're just trying to live day by day.
Yes, and everything's like constantly getting thrown at you that it's like, oh, like I have to do that, I have to do this. But I think we always forget they're paid to do this, you guys. Like they're paid to like sell you this. So that's just like something to think about. And then my favorite chapter, you guys, was the Nothing Will Change chapter, which kind of like goes into what Kennedy was talking about. How so in this point in the book, Farley, her best friend, moves in with her boyfriend at the time, and then it kind of like leads into like nothing's gonna change, like we're still gonna like we're not living together anymore, but like nothing's gonna change. And then it just goes through like how things nothing's gonna change but things started to change, and then that leads into like the engagement and everything, and how it's again like nothing's gonna change but like things do kind of like start changing. That chapter, it just like I had to like take a break because I was like, wow, like the emotions and like seeing that. And like I feel like I was in Dolly Alderton's like shoes in this situation, because I feel like I haven't been like in Farley's shoes, in this situation. So I really was like feeling her emotions and feeling her feelings. And then there was a part on page 146 that really stuck out to me where Farley says, we're not at school anymore. Like stuff will happen at different times. You'll be doing some things ahead of me too. Cause in this point, Dolly like really starts to feel like behind. And it's like, wow, like, and I feel like that's like the point in my life where like me and Kenita are at, where like everybody's doing like different things, and like it kind of feels like you're behind, or like you're not on the right track, you're not doing the right thing, but like everybody's going to be doing completely different things at different times, and it's like completely normal because it's the first time in our lives where like we're not on that same path. And just this chapter, it really like brought up so many emotions within me. It was my favorite chapter, I think, by far in the book.
Yes, and I feel like also this chapter just kind of helped me think like we always talk about nothing's gonna change, but like it will change, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. And like instead of being like mopey about it and sad about it, because like that's definitely all I've done, is like I'm just like I don't want nothing to change. Like I just like you this way. Like everything is gonna change, and it also kind of gave me the perspective because I'm always thinking about like oh like things are gonna change for the single people, but I've never really thought like oh like what about from the perspective of someone with a that is in the relationship and also has to go through these changes. So it made me kind of like emotional in that aspect as well. And like I definitely cried a couple times during this chapter because I just personally thought of it from our friend Kelsey. Like she has a boyfriend, she moved in with him, and like she's living this whole different life, has her full-time job, yet I'm in grad school, single, living with my parents. And I just kind of thought like yeah, I'm sad like for my own aspect of having to share a friend with someone else, but then also it's like also think about how much change your friend is going through, and she might also notice those changes in friendship. And so that kind of also made me sad a little bit. And then in that chapter, I thought this was really sweet as someone who is always very, very, very cautious of my friends' boyfriends. And I can't lie, I'm always like hesitant to be like, well, okay, I don't know if this is fake, but I'm always like when friends tell me about like boys are talking to you, stuff like that, I'm always like, yes, oh my god, like I love that. But like in the back of my mind, I'm always like, I have some reservations, of course, because it's men at the end of the day. And I thought this was really sweet where it was Farley's birthday party, and they came in kind of like saying her happy birthday. And then at the end, she said, hold on, let me find it. Um, Oh, the last little paragraph. Scott looked across the room and caught my eye. He smiled at me. Thanks, he mouthed. I smiled back at him, and all at once realized the world that now lay between us. The invisible dimension created from the history and love and future we shared for this one person. It was then I knew everything had changed. We had transitioned. We hadn't chosen each other, but we were family. And I think that was just beautiful, and like how like like your friend's boyfriend and like you both have this shared love for this person. You just want the happiness, so instead of kind of like fighting that, just kind of realize like, oh, like we're kind of like a chosen, not like a chosen family, but like I don't know how to describe it, like look at it more in a positive light, and we just want the best. So it's like kind of like I feel like this part was her finally accepting Scott's presence, so I thought that was just like a really sweet moment.
Yeah, I was gonna, when you were talking about that, I was immediately on that part too. It was just the perfect way to like wrap that up of like nothing's gonna change. Like she's living with this person, like, and you kind of have like some resentment because she kind of did, you know, she was talking about like how she didn't really see Farley, like Farley like hung out more with like his friends. And I like how we kind of saw like that POV of like for the person in the situation, it's like very different because like you're getting thrown into this world, like you're meeting these people that like you might not really like, but like you kind of have to like at least be cordial with them and everything. And then to see this part where it just kind of like brings it all together, like everything's changed, everything's different, but like we're family, like we both love her and we want the best for her, like Hindi said. And that I think it was just like the perfect way to wrap up that chapter. And then, but and also and also like capture like all the emotions within it. She did her thing with that little paragraph. A next like little part that I tabbed was at the beginning of the on page 162 where it's the chapter, it's everything I knew about love at 25. In the first little paragraph she talks about men love a woman who holds it all back, make them wait 5 dates to have sex with you, 3 dates at the very least, that's how you keep them interested. And I was just like, in this one I feel like I really like, I was just personally, I was like, wow, like you really see how the standard is kind of like men like want you to like, you don't want to give them too much, but like you don't, but you also don't want to give them nothing because, and it's just I feel like I saw for like being in a women's position, just like how you can never like fully please, you know, how it's always expected like, oh, like don't give it all out on the first date, you know, but like also like it's been like 3 months and you haven't given him nothing. It's like, why am I the one that has to give, you know? Like, and why is there like a perfect like time, you know? And I know that there's like people who's like, oh, like never like after like 5 dates or like 3 days, like that kind of stuff. But like in the like women, I feel like it's just asked like so much of you, and how it's never like gonna be perfect. Like it's never gonna be like 100%. You're never gonna please everyone. And I don't know. I thought that she really like got that all in there.
Yeah, I definitely do agree with that. Just like kind of the double standards, but yet men can just kind of go around and do whatever they want in that aspect. But for women, it's like, oh, you want to make sure you do this, you make sure you want to do that. But yeah, and then also on the next page, I also love this little quote that said, "Your best friends will abandon you for men. It will be a long and slow goodbye, but make your peace with it and make some new friends." That is definitely something I've struggled with forever because I've always had friendships where it seems like, oh, they get a boyfriend and it's like I don't even exist anymore. And so instead of kind of really taking that to heart, just kind of realize like, okay, it's fine. If they don't prioritize friendship, then I'm not gonna prioritize it later, and just like she said, find new friends, even if that sounds like harsh, or not necessarily new friends, but like more friends that more currently align with who you are in that present moment in your single girl era, or maybe just not in such a committed girl era. So I really like that part as well because that is like a hard truth, especially like she was experiencing this like so young, like at 25, and like I'm experiencing it like since high school, since now I'm at 22, 21. So I don't know, I think it's like a very harsh truth we have to learn, but it's just like it is what it is. Fine, like it is painful, but just find some new friends.
Yes, and at the end of the day, it's like something like it's inevitable and it's out of your control too. Because I like how like she kind of just says like after that she talks about like just like get into bed, eat some chocolate, you know, like it's not like you can't do anything about it. It's not going to change. Excuse me. It's not going to change. So it's kind of like also like mourn it too, and then the next chapter, it's the reasons to have a boyfriend and reasons not to have a boyfriend. On page 165, her like last reasons for to have a boyfriend, it was if you have one, people will think you're lovable. If you don't have one, people will think you're shallow and dysfunctional. The relief of not having to flirt with people, and then the fear of dying alone, the void, etc. Those points specifically, I was like, oh my gosh, why I'm relating to this so much? Because it's like, okay, like you have a boyfriend, people love you, like you can have love, but if you don't have a boyfriend, like you don't work, like what's wrong with you, like it's your fault and everything. And then just also just like, oh, like it just like the relief of not having to flirt with people, of not having to, like do all that, and yeah, I was just like those like reasons, I related to them on a whole other level. I was like, wow, I feel called out right now.
Yeah, those two lies were just like this book was written back and like released back in 2018, I think, but even now in 2025, they still hold so much value and truth. Like, especially on if you don't have one, people like kind of pity you. They're always asking, when are you gonna go on a date, do this, and this? But it's like, I really don't want to. And there's actually a podcast I want to listen to that's literally titled I'm single, not dead. And like exactly that, like I'm single. Just because I'm single does not mean I'm less of a person. And it doesn't mean all these things. Like it's like kind of annoying when people are like, oh, like you need to get out and do this. But I'm like, what if I actually don't want to? Because I'm just focused about on other things. And like I know like sometimes it probably be confusing because I'm always like, oh, like I want a boyfriend, blah blah blah. But like right at the end of the day, I like kind of don't right now. You know what I mean? Like I'm just trying to vibe out, trying to figure out my vibes. But at the same time, there is kind of that trend that's like, well, if you're in a relationship right now, like that's kind of cringe. So it's like if you're even in a relationship, it's like, oh, like you're boring, like you're no fun, like it's embarrassing. So it's like truly, you, being single or even in a relationship is looked down upon.
No, like you can never win. You really can never win. And I just feel like this whole book really showed me like you're always like never going to please everyone, and you're always going to be behind, quote unquote. You're not going to be like at the right track, because it's never going to be like what society or what everybody else is wanting of you. And those lines, I was just like, wow, like and then also, sometimes you're not going to find someone, there's, like, yes, there's like hella people on this earth, and like I know everybody's like there's like 7 billion of us or whatever, like you're gonna have someone, but sometimes that's not in the plans for you, and that's like perfectly okay. But yeah, I feel like people always like, oh, like you don't have someone, like, like always looking down upon you.
And at the end of the day, like we are literally so young in the grand scheme of things. I'm like, y'all, like I'm still in school. Like, let me figure myself out before I really think about other things. Like, people just try to, especially down in like the further you get down south of the United States, it's just like, you guys, like we like cannot breathe for a second.
Right, like we're only like the first quarter of our lives. We're not even at the first quarter of our lives, and it's just like you're already behind. The next part that I found really interesting was, I don't know if you have anything before this, Kennedy, but on page 168.
LOL, because my next tab is on 169.
Oh my gosh, it's like we planned this. So page 168, the chapter is, I don't know if I'm saying this right. Totem Court Road and Amazon. So she's kind of like talking about like in this chapter about how like when you get to like age 30, like it's all this is, like it's all this road and then Amazon. Like that's all that there is for you. And so this part really like stuck out to me so much. It's she says on page 168, I found it impossible to articulate how I was feeling to anyone. I spent huge spots of time on my own. There was a hum in my body of disinterest, uni, and anxiety, as low and simultaneously disruptive as a washing machine on a spin that won't turn off. And I felt like she was encapsulating everything I have felt recently sometimes, of how just like you can't like articulate how you're feeling, like it's always like this constant like oh she I feel like the way she described it of like the washing machine just like that won't spin, it won't turn off, like it's just constantly spinning, and just like you can't articulate how you're feeling sometimes. And that part right there, I was like, wow, like I have been like in this like rut, I feel like recently, and it's just like I don't know how to describe it, but it's like I feel it within, you know? And I was like, I just really, really related to like that line, I felt like.
And then also in the chapter, I feel like what I also love that kind of relates to Elizabeth, but in the feeling of like you're in the rut, but like in a way you kind of want to get out of it, and in that way is like moving cities. Like that's where you feel like you'll find your answer. So the next page she says, the answer was, of course, what the answer always is for a single 20 something woman prone to a touch of melodrama, move to a different city. And then she goes into talking about New York City, and I feel like that is just so me because I'm just in this rut and never stops. Like I feel like the answers to it all is going to a different city, and I'm like that seems targeted. Like I just want to like be in a new space, new people, but like low key at the end of the day, the problems really don't lie in a new city, or the solutions don't lie in a new city. It really is within. But listen, I'm still in my single 20 something with a touch of melodrama. So, of course, I want to move to a different city. But I just felt like that was really like, I can relate to that because New York City is like my dream. I want to move there.
No, I also that part I also tabbed to, and I was like, wow, because she talks about like moving to a new city and how like that's the solution. And then later on in the chapter, I don't know if it's in this chapter or like later on, she's like that wasn't the solution. Like he said, it's like within and everything, and how like just because you change like the environment, yes, the environment changes, but like you're still feeling that way and everything. And I was like, wow, that just like she just stayed calling me out every single chapter, I felt like. And then on page 171, I feel like this chapter, some of these like titles, I was like, oh, like it seems like not like a huge like thing, you know, like Amazon, but the stuff she would be saying, wow, she'd just be getting really deep. But on page 171, she says, I don't even know what she was talking about really before this, but she says, I try to imagine what it would feel like to find a sense of security in the person you went to bed with, a notion that was so foreign to me. I looked at the small gaps in between all their bodies and imagined the places that they lay between them, the stories that they had written together, the memories and the language and the habits. And in this moment, I was like, I feel like she really got like what it feels to like be single and be surrounded by all these people like in relationships who like got it together, who are doing all this stuff, and just like seeing like that longing that you have, but also like just like I don't even think it's necessarily like longing, but just like curiosity of like how they're feeling, like how they're doing all that. And it's such a simple scene because in this scene it's just people dancing, but like she really showed like those emotions and those feelings.
No, and I can definitely relate to that. Like, let's say, like, if we're out or something, and you just see, like, these couples and stuff, and it just, like, makes you curious, like, what would that be like to be in that situation? And then I had a comment about the last thing you talked about. I feel like another lesson she learned from that was, like, okay, the solution wasn't another city, but really, like, you're like the solution is really in like the love you get from your friend. Like those are the people who make home feel like home. Like I feel like in a way she was trying to search for a new home, but home was really like with your friends who love you and where that love resides.
Yes, and I feel like you see that because you see she's like in New York, she's not having the greatest time. Like everything's not going the way she wants it. But like when she would talk to her friends and everything, like on the phone, and like they were like doing that kind of stuff, like they were home, they were doing their thing. She kind of like missed that like community and that sense of like love that she would receive from them. Definitely, like I think showed that.
And then that's also where that's like a struggle for me as well with the whole like everything's gonna change. And it's like I know like home is where my people are, but at the same time like we all have to go our separate ways. It's not like I can be like, hey everyone, why don't you just move where I want to move to, and we can just live happily like ever after. So that's like another thing this book made me think about for like my own personal life.
And then I actually tabbed. I knew I did, of course, on page 177 of this same chapter, where she gets that realization of like moving, but also like it's not, it's the scenery. So on page 177, she says, the external scenery had changed, but the internal stuff was exactly the same. I was anxious, restless, and self loathing. And it was like, wow, like everything was going how she needed it to. Like she did the solution that she thought, but it wasn't the solution that she needed. And I think that also just showed how like in your 20s like you're figuring it out, and you're really going to see like what works and what doesn't work. And it's okay if something doesn't work, because she had it all planned out. Like New York, she loved the city, she loved when she visited, but then when she was living there, it was like, this isn't what I need, you know? And I think it really showed you're gonna figure that out in the mistakes, not even mistakes, but like when you actually like do what you need to do, you're gonna figure out if it works and if it doesn't work. And I just really think that showed you that just embodied your 20s and like figuring it out.
And for me, my next thing I tabbed from that, or since that chapter, wasn't until 229. I don't know if you had anything before that that you would want to talk about.
I just had on page 188, where kind of like continuing this like trend of like the moving stuff. She said, "Because I'm the problem," I replied, "Not the city, not any of the circumstances are the problem. I'm the thing that needs changing." And it's like you figure out that like internal struggle that you're going through, and that just really like resonated with me a lot.
Yeah, and I would say on that note, I can definitely relate to that. That's kind of how I felt when I transferred from my first university to WKU, where it was like I love the new environment and stuff, but at the same time, there are like some like still issues from like that past year. I was like, wait, this is like a me problem, not necessarily a college problem, but then I would say then that fostered the time to have that growth. But the next thing, honestly, the therapist chapter, my therapist says I was convinced, like, oh, maybe I need to go to therapy. like her therapist and just all that was just so good. But the part that like I was like, girl, is this book about me? And it says she means, wait, hold on. Oh, okay. So she's talking to her friend India about like what her therapist said, and her therapist told her like she thinks I have no sense of self. And then India was like, like that's BS. Like you have a stronger sense of self than anyone I know. And then Dolly says, yeah, but not that kind of sense of self, I said. Not like how I will vote in the EU referendum or what my favorite way of serving potato is. She means I break myself off into different bites to give to different people rather than being whole. I'm so restless and unsettled. I don't know how to be without all the things I used to prop me up. Oh, you guys, I felt like I literally cried at this because I was like, wow, I feel like I just had a therapy breakthrough. Like, I feel that so much. I feel like in all my different relationships, not in a bad way, but my friendships, family relationships, and just like meeting people, I feel like I have to show a certain part of myself to me, or it's like they kind of won't like me, you know what I mean? Which is so bad to say. And it's like, it's just like, because I'm kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It's just like because I'm not being my whole self at once, I'm just giving people like different parts of myself. It's kind of exhausting because I'm not truly being my true self. And I feel like that's why I like my alone time, because that's like the only time I'm truly can be myself, because I'm not, I wouldn't say putting on performance because it is me, but it's not fully me.
I also tapped that paragraph, and I like what specifically I feel like really spoke to me was the I don't know how to be with all those things I used to prop myself up, and how like yes, like you have like these people, yes, you have these things, you have like all these things that kind of like not distract you, but like distract you from like being you and everything, that like you kind of lose sight of like who you are. And like Kennedy, I relate so much to kind of like showing people like different parts of me and not like fully being me, you know? And it's not like a bad thing, because I feel like with different people, like you have different interests and like you have different things. But I feel like when it becomes like the lines become blurred of like you kind of lose sight of yourself, and you kind of like just without all this stuff, without all these things that keep you busy, you lose sight of like who you are, and like you don't know. Like she said, I don't know how to be without all these things. I was like, wow, like if you take away all those things, like all those relationships, hobbies, like whatever it is that you have, and like you don't know who you are, it's like a like internal thing of you have to like come to terms with that and really figure that out. That paragraph, I was like, oh my gosh, I felt so called out.
Yeah, and then for me, I took my prop as like my humor, because I feel like I'm always like the funny friend, the one who's always being kind of dumb and stuff like that. So I always feel like I have to be that way for everyone. So it's kind of like when I'm not like that, I feel like, oh, people wouldn't like me. People wouldn't really want to be my friend or anything like that if I don't show that side to me. And so that's kind of like, who am I without that though? I am, can be funny sometimes, I guess, and like dumb, but it's like, without kind of like that caricature that I give myself or that I show to other people, it's like, who am I really? I kind of find it hard to be like letting two things be true at once when it comes to myself.
And then the immediate line after where she says, it's very simple. All she says is like, I feel like I'm falling apart. It's like, wow, like you have like you this, not even this front, but like this, the prop that you use to like hold yourself up, and without it you like fall apart because like you don't know and everything. And I was like, yeah, I feel that a little too much. A little bit before that, I had tabbed on page 209. It was, she's like walking with her best friend Farley, and she says, I was grateful for understanding in that moment that life can really be as simple as just breathing in and out. And I was thankful to know that what and I was thankful to know what it was to love the person walking next to me as much as I did, so deeply, so fiercely, so impossibly. And I thought it was like a simple moment where you can just realize, like she said, it can be as simple as just breathing. And I feel like in this day and age we lose sight of that, of how simple it is to live, because like literally just the fact of living is just being able to breathe in and out and just like existing. And I thought that was like a really good moment to just like remember to just stop and like take a deep breath and like really notice like who it is that you have in your life, and like all those like positive things. And that just really like reminded me to just stop and just breathe.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like we definitely have the tendency to kind of overcomplicate things. And I feel like based off that, like the simplicity of life, I feel like what I next have tabbed kind of fits with that. So a little bit further in Heartbreak Hotel, but it's just a simple line on 251 where she says, at least you know you're loved, I offered. And like I feel like that's something we take for granted. Because I feel like in society it's so much about the romantic love, but like we don't even talk about like our family love, our friendship love, and it's just like to be loved is to be known, seen, whatever the quote is. So it's like we just really take that for granted when other things get complicated. We're like, well, no one loves me, but it's like no, people do love you.
Yes, and when it gets like dark in your mind and everything, it's very easy to like lose sight of that. And then same chapter, of course, page 256, I tabbed the second paragraph where she says, it was this time that I was reminded of the chain of support that keeps a sufferer afloat. The person at the core of a crisis needs the support of their family and best friends, while those people need support from their friends, partners, and family. Then, even those people twice removed might need someone to talk to about. It takes a village to mend a broken heart. And I was just like, wow. Because I feel like, yes, the person suffering, as someone who I feel like has been in that position, like you do need, like, you need your core. You need like your family, your friends. You need those people like you can like open up to and talk about that stuff. But then I feel like it's very easy to like lose sight that then those people also need support. Like they need someone to like just rant to, or like express how they're feeling, how this has taken a toll on them too. And it just really and then those people might need, so it's just like a whole domino effect. And it shows like the whole like quote with like a village, like you need a village and everything. It really like just brought into like my perspective like how far that extends, and how it's just not like the person suffering and like their little circle, but it just keeps on going and going and going. And it just really shows like it all leads back to like the person who is suffering, like they're not alone, like they have like all of the support that like they don't even know about, you know. And that just really like spoke out, I feel like.
Yeah, and I feel like it just reinforced the idea of like the importance of having a community, having a village, because it, like not even in terms of heartbreak, but just like any crisis, like everyone needs someone, the person who's in the crisis, like they have their immediate people, but those immediate people also need kind of some help with being the help, and it just goes on and on and on. So it just really shows the importance of having people to be there for you and just like never take that for granted, especially in this kind of epidemic we have with people just being so to themselves and wondering like why they don't have a village yet, they're not a good friend. But needing to know that like when it comes to a crisis, like we need all we can get. Just even think like when natural disasters happen and just like the whole community comes together, and then like the family of people in the communities from other states also spreading the news. So it's like we just really need to like continue fostering connections and building our community because we're always going to need it at the end of the day when times are tough.
And then my next part that I had tabbed was 262. I don't know if you have anything before that.
No.
Okay, so this chapter, a little preface, the Heartbreak Hotel. It's Farley. So she's been like in this the Scott guy that we talked about earlier. She's been in this long term relationship. She had like stuff happen where her sister passed away. She got engaged to the guy. They put off the wedding, and then something happens where they call off the wedding. They break up, and we obviously like don't really find out like too much of like why it happened. I feel like that's just like her. Obviously like not bringing everything to light, but in this like chapter it's really showing like the friendship and like the support between Dolly and Farley in that moment for Farley. And so they're in this part, they're on page 262. They are kind of like making vows to each other because it's the time that would have been her wedding, so they're making vows instead to each other as friends. And so then Farley's vow is specifically really stood out to me. She says, hold on, my mom's talking. Okay. So Farley's vow, she says, Farley's vow to Dolly, she says, thank you, she said, taking a sip of her Prosecco and pausing to think. I vow to always let you grow. I'll never tell you that I know who you really are just because we've known each other since we were kids. I know you're going through a period of big change, and I'll only ever encourage that. And I really think that just showed, like, as a friend, how you can't, like, control what's going on with your friend, even though, like, you love them so much and, like, you're making a mistake, like, you shouldn't do this, but you can't like you have to let them come to terms with that. And I feel like I really like thought of it in the perspective of like your friend who's dating someone who you don't like and everything, and you kind of like give your opinion, but like that's all you can do. You can't like encourage them more. You can't be like telling them more and more like, I don't know about that person. Like you can give your opinion, but then after that, you can only let them come to terms with it. And how she says, I'll only let you grow, and just I'll never like tell you like who you are and everything just because like I know who you are. I'll let you come to terms with that. And I just think that really spoke to like what's really beautiful about a friendship and everything, about how you know this person and they might need some time to like come to terms with like who they are, who they're dating, what it is that's going through their life, but you have to let them go through that. And then it can't be like in a I told you so moment, but just like a moment of like support and just like being there for them. And I think that was just like really beautiful about like what it is to be a friend.
And I also felt like it showed just truly how strong female friendships are and how much they can stand because it's like female friendships, like we're gonna be there before the relationship in the beginning, but we're also gonna be there like at the end. Like we're gonna stick around. Like these men may come and go, but at the end of the day, when that's all, if it ends badly, who's gonna be there with you? Us. And I feel like that was like I feel like that's something people in a relationship can take away from, and single people. Like as single people, it's always good to stick with your friends that are in relationships and people in relationships. It's like don't throw away your friends. Like God forbid something goes wrong. Like those are going to be the people who are with you if something goes wrong and will stand with you and will put in all this effort. And I just thought it was so beautiful how they like came up with this whole trip where like her and Dolly had some time alone to, during this time, and like their friends came later. I just thought it was like really sweet and just really showed like how much friendships mean to like it's just such girlhood.
Yes, I love that part too. How like the best friends, like they're all friends, but they needed a little moment before then everybody else like came and everything. And then the like, I think this is the last part. Oh, I have like two more quotes that I have on this chapter, but on page 263, she's talking about. So she says, I thought about an article I had read about premature death after Florence died, the one in which an advised columnist advised a grieving father not to think of the life his teenage son would have led had he not been killed in a car crash. This fantasy, she said, was an exercise of torture rather than comfort. And I think that just shows like, yes, it's good to have like these like little fantasy moments in your head, but sometimes they are not like good, like they just torture you more. And I feel like I kind of like related to it in the sense of like, oh, like if I had a boyfriend, or like you see like these like you're watching edits, or like you're watching a TV show, or like you see those couples on TikTok pop up that you didn't ask for, and you're like, oh, like if only, or like what if, and you kind of have like this fantasy in your head of like you being in that moment, but that only like creates like more torture for you. Like it might seem like a, oh, like this is good, but like no, like it's only causing you to have like be not let down, but like it's not real, so I thought that was just like interesting in the situation that they were in, but then also how you can like apply that to other things. And then the last line of this chapter on 265, she says, a reminder that no matter what we lose, no matter how uncertain and unpredictable life gets, some people really do walk next to you forever. And it was just like Farley got out of a 7 year long relationship. She thought she met her man, her soulmate, but it's not always going to work out. But you have to remember like who is going to be there next to you and who has been there next to you, and how they're going to be there basically forever. I thought that was just like a really nice little sentence, a little reminder that we forget about.
And then my next quote actually comes on 302 in the chapter Enough. And I feel like at this point, Dolly had just gone through all these different dating stories, nothing working out, and a lot with Farley and Florence and all that. And she just kind of like, you know what? I'm throwing myself into abstinence. She's being celibate. And I couldn't relate to this quote I'm about to say, but I thought it's kind of like a good reminder for like people in the dating world, but it just says dating had become a source of instant gratification and extension of narcissism. It had nothing to do with connection with another person. Time and time again, I had created intensity with a man and confused it with intimacy. A stranger proposing to me at JFK, a middle-aged guru asking to fly me out to France to spend a week with him. It was overblown, needless intensity, not a close connection with another person. Intensity and intimacy. How could I have gotten them so mixed up? And I feel like I just see that so much when I just hear stories or from experience. Like a lot of people think that like the big grand gestures are like what love is about, and they think it's being intimate, but it's really not. So I feel like that was like a good reminder. So like for when I go into the dating scene, like just like don't get too wrapped up into all that stuff. Like you can kind of get wrapped up into the intensity of it all, and then that's why it kind of ends, because there's really not a real connection at the end of the day. And I feel like we can just see that so much in today's dating world, where everyone just kind of wants to like flex on like their dates or whatever on social media, but it's like that doesn't necessarily mean that there is a real emotional connection and like this is your person.
Yes, I think that is like the difference between those two, intimacy and what was it?
Intensity.
Yeah. Especially today's day and age, I think it's so easy to overlook and like be infatuated by someone and like automatically think like it's like intimacy and it's love and everything, but it's really not. Yeah, I thought that was really crazy. Like Kitty said, I don't feel like that's anything I've personally experienced, but I do know it's very easy to experience in this day and age, just with like the way the world works and like social media and its effect on everything. So definitely something that you just always have to have like in the back of your head, to like remember those differences.
Oh, and just a quick note, I also think it's also good to have this in the back of your mind when it comes to like your expectations for a person. Like, I don't want to say get treated like trash, but don't expect the utmost from someone that you're dating in the beginning, if that makes sense. Like, don't expect like, oh, like he's gonna fly you out to like the Bahamas or something when you've only known each other for like a week, or that he's really gonna make you a priority. Like, I don't know if that sounds bad, but like hopefully you guys get what I mean. Like just don't like, I feel like it's unfair to expect kind of relationship level things so much into one person in the beginning, because I feel like again that kind of confuses the intimacy versus intensity.
And then right before that on page 301, I marked where they're Farley and Dolly are having a conversation, and then Dolly asks Farley, she says, or I think it's the other way, I don't really know, but they say, how wait, okay, how my longest relationship was 2 years, and that was over when I was 24. And then she said, I'm talking about you and me. And I feel like we often forget, like we automatically think like relationship, like we think like people that are dating and like engagements and like all that kind of stuff. But then we also forget like you also have a relationship with like your friends, like a friendship is a type of relationship, and I feel like it's very easy to overlook that and just like not take it for granted, but like but in a way take it for granted of it not being a relationship. So I feel like sometimes when we're hard on ourselves, we're like, oh, like I haven't been in a relationship, or like the longest it's lasted has been like, I don't know, like a couple months or something. But if you have friends that you've had this relationship with for years, like that's a type of relationship too. And I feel like society just overlooks that, and it's like, no, like you haven't been on any type of relationship, but you have a really solid relationship with these people.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And my next quote is gonna like fall perfectly like what Elizabeth is saying. And it's the iconic quote everyone knows on 314. Nearly everything I know about love I've learned in my long-term friendships with women. And I definitely think it's like the only difference between like a romantic relationship and friendship is like obviously like attraction, and then like you're doing other stuff with them that you don't do as friends or that would be inappropriate. And I think it's like if you can like have these long relationships, so like you probably would like have a good long like romantic relationship if it's your person you click with, if that makes sense. Like, um like for example, some of my friends and I were gonna fly out to see another one of my friends soon because like we really like we just have that type of friendship, and it's just like you would do the same in like a long-term relationship with someone you connect with. So it's like you kind of doing the same things but obviously with different things attached to it. But it's just like you may not think like sometimes I'm like, what I even like I don't know anything about being in a romantic relationship. Like I don't even know if I would really, be able to do that or whatever. But it's like I've had these friendships that I've been friends with since like elementary school, middle school, high school, and it's like I fostered those connections, and like if I can do that, I can date someone, you know what I mean? Obviously there is a little bit more differences, obviously, but it's like it definitely kind of puts things in perspective, and it kind of makes honestly romantic relationships not seem as scary to me.
And also like I don't know if this is the right word, but like not as like important, but like yes, like obviously you need like that intimacy, you need all that kind of stuff sometimes. But also just like it's not the end all be all if you don't have that relationship, because like Kenny said, it's not like as scary because you've had these relationships that like kind of matter a little more or have had a longer impact on your life and everything. And I think it's like really because in this point in the book, like she's talked about like all these like flings, all these like stories, all these like bad dates, but like the people that she's learned the most from about love, about like actual true love, it's not from like these flings, it's not from like these one night stands or like whatever it is that she had, it's from like the women friendships that she has in her life. And I thought that was like really, really telling of just the impact that you have on your friends that is really overlooked by at times, but like you really do have that impact. And then kind of going off on that, a little bit before that, she talks about on page 307, she's talking about the 28 lessons that she's learned in her like life and everything. And lesson number 6, she says, "You're the sum total of everything that has happened to you up until that last slurp of the cup of tea that you just put down." And it really like ties into that like the friendship aspect of like everything that has happened to you up until like whenever you're thinking about it, you are a sum of those experiences, whether it be bad, whether it be good. You've learned something from it and you've changed in some way. And sometimes it might be the most like minuscule thing, like a small thought in your brain, or maybe like it just like sparks something within you that later on when you experience something else, it's gonna like cause that change or whatever. And it just shows how like sometimes when you have those experiences where it seems like it's bad or like what was this for, like it was all a mistake, like it's not, because you learned something from it and it's going to impact you in the long run in some way. And then just in general, page 305, everything about this page, I just put one tab and it says everything. She just talks about because I am enough, my heart is enough, I am enough, I am enough. And I think that's just like a good reminder, because I feel like we often overlook like it's really easy for us to be very nitpicky about everything that's wrong in your life, or like everything that you're doing wrong, or feeling like you're not enough, like you're not on the right path, you're not on the right timeline, you're behind. But just reminding yourself like you are enough, like you're doing it at your own time, and like you are enough.
Yes, I agree, especially with like all the double standards and expectations we've talked about throughout this whole episode about the different standards that Dolly kind of points out. It's like But at the end of the day, we're enough. We don't need to conform to someone else's idea of what our life should look like in terms of dating, blah, blah, blah. Like, I am enough. And at the end of the day, like, that's all I really need.
Exactly that. And then on page 319, kind of like how Kenny said about how you go on these first dates, like you're not gonna don't expect them to take you to the Bahamas, like like that kind of thing. And I feel like we often and I think it's because of social media and how like or even TV shows, how we constantly see like love and like these huge declarations and like we see love like really big. We see it in the biggest way. But then on page 319, the first like paragraph, the end of it, she says, love is quiet, reassuring, relaxing, pottering, pedagonic, harmonious hum of a thing, something you can easily forget is there, even though its palms are outstretched beneath you in case you fall. And I thought that was really beautiful, especially the part where she says it's outstretched beneath you in case you fall. Like love is really simple. Like we don't need like these huge declarations and like these huge trips and stuff. Like yes, that's a plus. That's nice. I'm not saying you like don't do that if you can, but we forget about that love that is like quiet and still, and that love that you often have in like your friendships. I feel like is when you mostly have that, or like with your friends and your family. And it's like those small things though, like remembering you like doing this, or like you prefer like tea over coffee, or like you like it iced, you like it hot, like those small things. It really accumulates like what love is.
Yeah, I agree. And then my last two tabs, my first one is not really something that I have like notes, but I just really related to it. And that nostalgia was originally diagnosed as a sickness on page 340 in the 30 chapter. I was just like, yeah, that is so me. Like, I feel nostalgia so hard that it's almost sickening. And then my last little tab was on 343, also in the 30 chapter. And just this little note from Sylvia Plath in the Bell Jar, where it says, I saw my life branching out before me like the green fig tree in the story. From the tip of each branch, like a fat purple fig, a wonderful future beckoned and winked. One fig was a husband and a happy home and children, and another fig was a famous poet, and another fig was a brilliant professor, and another fig was E.G., the amazing editor, and another fig was Europe and Africa and South America, and another fig was Constantine and Socrates and Attilia, and a pack of other lovers with queer names and offbeat professions, and another fig was an Olympic lady crew champion, and beyond and above these figs were many more figs I couldn't quite make out. I saw myself sitting in the crotch of this fig tree, starving to death, just because I couldn't make up my mind which of the figs I would choose. And that really hit me, because I'm that type of person where it's just like, I have so many things I want to do. I know there's so many different ways my life could go, but I have trouble making steps because I'm just like, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't know what life I want to choose. And the part that really stuck out to me, where she was like, now here I am starving to death. Like, yes, now here I am doing nothing towards any of those pathways, because I'm just so paralyzed with choice on like what I can do. And it can just feel so overwhelming on where to go next in life. And it's just so hard to choose. And then it just ends up backfiring on you because you're not giving yourself what you need to go anywhere, because you just can't make up your mind.
No, that part and the way you worded it and everything, yeah, I relate to that on a whole other level of just like so many options and so many things pulling on you and like people and like telling you all this stuff. And it's like, like at the end of the day, you know? And then the last few little things that I have marked is on page 325, she says, because no man on earth has a large enough supply of instant gratification to feel that emptiness you feel. And I feel like often, like, you feel like things aren't working out, like you feel alone, and like automatically because you feel alone, you're like, oh, I need like a boyfriend or I need a partner, or like that has to be the solution. And I feel like society like tells you like you're alone, you feel lonely, it's because you don't have a partner, you know? But at the end of the day, like no man is gonna feel like the emptiness that you feel within. Like that's something that like you have to fill on your own. And I feel like you should feel that on your own in order for you to like go into a relationship and it be a healthy relationship and everything. Because if you're constantly like going through men and you're like thinking they're the solution, it's never gonna work out and it's gonna be like that dependency that you don't need on them. Page 348, she says, to make me believe that life would be only to make me believe that life would only be meaningful, that I would only be powerful as a 20 something. And I feel like that spoke out to me so much, especially now because I feel like everybody's telling you, like, this is like your prime, like your 20s are your prime. And like I said earlier in the episode, like, your 20s, you're really only like the first quarter of your life, starting the second quarter of your life. And it's like, only the first quarter of your life, you guys. Like, that is crazy how society's telling us, like, this is your prime. Like, you have to travel. Like, you're never going to be alone again. You're never going to have, like, this and this and this. And it's like, no, like, you have, like, hopefully you have like 80 more years of life, you know? Like, you have all this time to figure out and to do this stuff. And it's like, not because just because you're not in your 20s doesn't mean that you're not gonna like have opportunities to do stuff. And it's like a lot of people, the careers that they're in, they don't get into those careers like until later on in their life, or like they have a career change and they don't get into it until like their 30s, their 40s, or like they start settling and having kids, and like you're still traveling, you're still doing this stuff. But I feel like you're constantly being told, like, nope, it's your prime. If you don't do it now, you're never doing it again. And even like on social media, it's like you're never gonna be like without kids, nothing tying you down to like travel and everything. And it's like, no, like you have all this time. Like, don't rush it. And then on page 354, um, there's before you get into the second paragraph, it says to choose love is to take a risk always. That's why it's called falling. No one meanders with a compass and ordnance survey map into love. People meet with pain they are not even aware they harbor. There's a reason why those who with shared demons or who had similar childhoods or overlapping ancestry often end up together. I think everyone's deepest emotional fingerprints reach out and touch each other on an unconscious level. This can be good and bad. This can lead to intimacy and connection and codependency. And it's just the beginning part where it's to choose love is to take a risk, and that's why it's called falling, because you're falling in love. Like, it's a risk, you're falling off, you're like, you don't know if someone's gonna catch you at the end, you don't know like how you're gonna land and everything, but you have to take that risk. And I think that was like one of those part where it's like it's gonna be scary, but like that's the whole point of it. Like that, and I feel like it's, as someone who's like single and everything, it's like it is scary, but like, you know, that's the part where she said that's why it's called falling. I'd never heard of that like analogy before, and that really stood out to me. And then the last thing I tabbed is on the very last page of the book, 358. She says, um, when you're looking for love and it seems like you might not even ever find it, remember you probably have access to an abundance of it already, just not the romantic kind. But it will listen to you, inspire you, and restore you. You have so much to gain and learn from this kind of love. You can carry it with you forever. Keep it as close as you can. And I think that was the perfect way to end the book and just encapsulate everything that this book is. I don't know if Kennedy has anything else to add.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it was the perfect ending, and it's truly like, you know, we don't always need to like look for these external things to make us happy in the love department. Like we have our friends, we have ourselves. I mean, we don't we don't have to always rely on relationships, like romantic relationships, for all these things. And truly, like, at the end of the day, our friends are always going to be there. So, like, really foster those connections, continue nurturing your friendships and being there for your friends, and just not taking any type of love you already have for granted. And it's like, if you find romantic love, you'll get it. It is a risk you're going to have to take, but at the end of the day, like, it's not guaranteed. And you always have your friends and your family.
And I think that really like speaks out to as like two people that like are single and haven't had that like romantic experience necessarily, you know, how like intimidating it can seem. But like Kennedy said, it's just like you have had this experience, just not like obviously like, the whole like the intimacy and all that kind of part of it, but like you've had this experience with different people throughout your whole life, and it's really not like that much different like in the foundation of it. Obviously there is some differences, but like in the foundation of it, it's pretty much the same. So I think that was just like a really good reminder, just like reading the book and everything, and seeing like her crazy stories and everything, and how like even in those situations where like society tells you like you need to be out, you need to be partying, you need to be like doing this and like hooking up and like doing this, she wasn't finding that like gratification from within. And it just really shows like you don't need like all that stuff, you know, like you have the love that matters. And yeah, I thought she did a really great job writing the book, and just I really did enjoy it.
I agree. And then one last note about the book overall, I felt like it was really good with showing, or it kind of reinforced to me, like, I'm young, it'll come, like, love will come when it comes. My 20s, like, my life is not over once I turn 30. Like, it's kind of like, I feel like nowadays, it's kind of being more like in the rhetoric that your life doesn't really become more fun until your 30s and 40s anyways. And like, your 20s is really just kind of like the groundwork for it all. But I'm just like, love will come when it comes. And I just think about my friendships. It's like, you know, I mean, you just click with certain people and with some, you click with some and you don't click with others. Some people last and some don't. And like, that's probably the way, like, because it's a friendship, and not romantic, I don't take it as seriously. So I'm like, I should take that, like, that same mindset into when I go into the dating world. That like, you're not gonna click with some people because some men are just not meant for you, and like that's okay. And you might find a boyfriend, you're like head over heels in love with him, but then it's like it ends up not working out. And like I had some friends where it's like, you're like my best friend, then we just ended up not being friends, but like years later I'm fine. So just really kind of like reinforcing that into like the dating aspect, and just realizing like, everything's gonna be okay at the end of the day.
And that's the end of our book review, our first book review book club episode on the Girls Lounge podcast. We loved doing this. It was a lot of fun to read, especially because this has been a book that's been on our TBRs for the longest time. So it finally forced us to actually pick it up and read it, and just discussing our thoughts. And like, even like when we were like kind of text, because we didn't text too much about it because we wanted to like save it for the podcast. But whenever we would text and stuff, it'd be like, yep, I read that part. I know exactly why you're going through it. And it'd just be really nice. So if you guys enjoyed our little book club, make sure you guys comment down below. Give us your thoughts on the book. Let us know if you guys want a part 2 in the future. Drop down some book recommendations you'd love. We are open to anything and everything. Make sure you're also checking out our TikToks, because we may or may not have attempted to film little book reading vlogs. So go check them out. Go see us reading in real time, and follow us on our socials. Give us a 5-star rating wherever you're listening, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.